Today on episode 29 of the Reaper Paranormal Show, The Haunted, Season 1. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Roy, and today I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Tam. What's going on, Tom?
Then what's up, Roy? How you doing today?
I'm doing very good, very good. So we got an interesting show today.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing something we haven't done. We're going to do a review of the show Haunted. So something different. So you guys, if you like this episode, let us know. If you want us to do more reviews of shows, again, let us know. We can accommodate
either a different show or this show. We started we purposely started with episode 1 just in case you guys really did like it and wanted us to go episode by episode or whatever. So let us know what you think.
And you can comment on this video on YouTube, or you can go to iTunes and comment there, or you can go to our website, comment there at www.podpage.com/The Reaper Paranormal Show. So let us know. We want to hear from you guys. We want some feedback. Let us know what you guys want to listen to. So let's jump into The Haunted, Season 1, Episode 1. So why don't you give me your overall thoughts, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts of the episode.
Okay. So knew very little about this show until heard of it, but knew very little about it until basically last week when you had brought it up that, hey, why don't we try something different? Of course, I'm always up for it and always looking for a good show. It's on it, so, but I guess I don't know if I went in with too high of expectations or what. I was not that impressed. Honestly, not at all. Maybe I actually watched the second or most of the second episode as well, just to kind of get more of a feel for the show and what it was all about. Because, like I said, I knew very little. I didn't know, was it people telling stories? Was it reenactments? Was it just complete fiction? I didn't know much, which is kind of cool going into a show like that. But I have mixed feelings on it, and as I didn't think it was a great show personally. Maybe it gets better as they go on. Maybe they kind of find their footing. That's why I tried watching. I started watching episode 2, and I'll watch more of it to kind of see if it morphs a little or if they find more. But I thought it was a little rough at points. Just anybody out there, if you if you decide you're going to watch this show and you have children, realize there is a lot of cussing. A lot of cussing.
Yeah, it's an adult show, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely
no nudity per se, but like there's cursing and
cursing, I would say. The content a little bit. It doesn't bother me cursing or anything, but it was just one of those. How much one of the guys was cursing, it really stood out because you don't usually hear it that much, But it was kind of cool because that's how some people talk. You know what I mean? I used to be much worse with cussing. I used to swear all the time. And so what were your thoughts?
I like that it was a short episode.
Yeah.
24 minutes, something like that. So some shows in the past you'd have like 4 different stories, and I was like, I don't want to. No. Give me one story, move on to the next episode. So I like that aspect of it. In the episode, I liked how they presented it as he was telling his family and friends what happened to him growing up. Almost like an intervention kind of thing. Like he was like, all right, this is what's been happening. This is what, I've been going through. And I like the reenactments. I thought they were kind of creepy. They were better than I thought. There would be some reenactments you're like, geez, that's just horrible. But I like these reenactments. I thought they were pretty good for what it was. Our team, I was telling Tom earlier, was actually contacted by the show at one point about asking if we knew anybody that wanted to be part of the show. And we knew some people, but it never ended up happening. Tom and I were discussing off air whether we would ever do the show. He finally convinced me that if they ever contact us again, that we'll go and meet with them. So Tom can strong arm him and give us $1 billion and set us up for life.
Like all I said was hear him out. Like I totally, because Roy has a valid point. You get into these shows, especially when it's reality TV. Sometimes you actually have to you sign your life away. But I just said, let's hear him out. If we walk, we walk. And probably will. You know what I mean? Because we're not going to like what they want to do with our intellectual property. But can't hurt, because like you said, if they offer you $1 billion, I might do some silly stuff for $1 billion.
They probably want us to pay them, probably.
Yeah, probably.
You schmuck, you pay us. Yeah. All right, fine. I have $5. But
did you watch the second episode or any other episodes of this?
No, I said the one just in case we did more episodes.
The second episode, I'm not gonna get into it or anything, but the second episode, holy crap, the wild story with the family in there. Holy crap, dude. It is nut. Especially if you have kids. That one you may want to skip if you have kids.
I have to watch it now.
Yeah, just for the aspect of the family story. That's, dude, it's fucking wild.
Wow.
It's wild. So anyway.
I'll remember that. So we're going to come across this episode between the paranormal versus natural causes of things that could have caused things to happen. Myself personally, I go in as our paranormal team. I'm a skeptical person who believes in the paranormal, but I also believe that there are most cases a reasonable explanation for things to have happened. Mm-hmm. So this show was basically a typical paranormal story that you hear a lot, that we come across quite a bit, and as our team, it's not the first time I've heard this story from families telling, especially I live in New England. Tom lives in New England, and we're an old part of the country, so tragedies, billion years old here, so things have happened, and you hear the story about a person kills someone in a certain area, and people still reside, move into that area. Well, the energy can still be in that area, not have left. And as far as the paranormal goes, we first talk to the people, interview the people, and as far as the gentleman goes, he seemed to get emotional when he was telling his story. I'm not a psychologist, and I'm taking him at face value. That was really him. He wasn't acting, and he was very upset by what was happening, transpiring. Because when something like that's happened to you, I would expect you to be upset, and it's not normal for spirits or demonic entities or whatever to be attacking you. And so face value was that?
That was when I started to get into the episode a little bit more. Once this guy, he really started showing some emotion with the story and the swearing and this is not normal and stuff like that. Because right off the rip, I was just like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't, and I'll get into it more as we go. But it was just, he just, he came across to me, and I did like like you said, the feel of the family or the family and friends around him and stuff like that. I thought that was
discussing the story.
Yeah. But right on, I saw this guy and I was like, this is the type of nerd that and I don't mean it because he's like, I just use that as a general, nerd. But he seemed like the type that we get, and it's just like, oh, okay, this guy, right, or like the way he looked, everything, and that's on me. I made assumptions all off of it, and I was just like, this is the guy, that they come up, they have the most fantastical story about the supernatural, and it's like, and right away you're just like, this guy's full of shit. But then, as what you were getting to, he was getting very emotional and stuff like that. It didn't seem like he was acting to me. It really did, and so that's when the story really picked up and kind of hooked me.
It was kind of the same with me as I'm going through the story. There was a scene where he was young, and he said, "I closed my closet door." He was doing something. I don't know if he was getting brushing his teeth or doing something. The door opened up again, and he was like, "Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen." And there's a million things that could have caused that to happen. So it was like, yeah. And then, there were scenes where he'd see the girl crawling across the floor. And it's like, all right, stuff like that. It's like, okay, let's see.
I might brought that up because that's what I wanted to ask you. So, and I don't want to jump on you.
That's fine.
So, the episode is titled "The Woman in White," and he sees a woman hanging in his closet, right? And
wait, hold that thought for 1 second.
Yeah,
I thought that was a teenage girl. I didn't realize she was supposed to be a woman. She looked young to me. I mean, I could just be way off, but for some reason, she looked really young to me.
Yeah, she didn't look like an old lady, for sure. So,
and 2 kids. I mean, how old is she? I have 2 kids.
So then so it's the woman in white. She's hanging in his closet. But you had just brought up now, as it's sort of progressing, and we're also getting backstory about his family here too. His father is very abusive. Very
abusive.
Which was unfortunately not that uncommon back. I mean, I come from a house like that. It's just, it was different then. You know what I mean? Growing, and I'm not as old as that gentleman, but even in the 80s, it was different growing up. You got hit, you got beat, stuff like that. So, but it was still bad. He was, getting punched in the face, stuff like that by the old man. So you're getting that thrown in there. But yeah, so it gets to the point where now it gets worse, and he says he sees it crawling across. It's basically, she drops to the floor and then she crawls across very creepily.
It was very creepy.
Yes, and so my question for you is, have you ever heard of that specifically in like a sort of, I don't know, like a demon or a ghost being in a house where, okay, you have the woman in white hanging there, which I understand because maybe that's how she died. She hung herself or was hung by somebody, you know what I mean? And that's how she died. But for that entity to all of a sudden like manipulate everything and now it's crawling across the floor and to a person like that, because that just seemed kind of wild and fantastic to me.
I don't see why it theoretically couldn't,
Okay.
Especially when you get into the natural causes that I'm about to get into, it actually might explain some of what you're saying, actually. So as far as natural causes, let's see if this explains it. If not, let me know. Now, naturally, as Tom alluded to, the kid was abused by his parents. And physical emotional abuse, which we had touched on a previous episode, can cause what's called poltergeist activity.
Mm-hmm.
And to go over it again, poltergeist activity is generally caused by a younger person with high anxiety, high stress, mostly a female, but it can be a male also. And some psychologists and some renowned psychologists and scientists believe that the person can create actual shadow figures and figures to actually appear to other people. So in theory, he could have physically created this girl to appear because of his emotional state that, he could have felt worthless. Like he was saying at one point that she was told him that he was supposed to die, like, he psychologically could have felt worthless, created this, thinking, "Oh, I'm not worthy of being here. I should die." So that all psychologically could have played a factor in what was going on. And he says he didn't know about it later in the episode, that he found out his parents knew about it and that sort of thing. With him being physically, emotionally abused, and his parents hearing about it, knowing about it, theoretically, he could have heard about it and suppressed it subconsciously, and it manifested himself through the abuse, and he recreated, oh, the girl hung herself in the closet, now she's going to get me because I'm not worthy, I should be dead. So theoretically, this all could have been created by his own mind, thinking that, he's worthless and not worthy of being there because it was an abuse he endured by his father. And I believe that more when they moved and he theoretically saw her hanging in the street. that was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Now, if she was standing on the street corner, well, maybe I'll give it to you. But she was hanging in the street. It's like, all right, that sounds kind of hokey. Not saying it can't happen, but it does sound kind of hokey. But it makes me, if we were involved with this case, I would really wonder if this wasn't poltergeist activity. And we would have to do an investigation. We would have had to have done history on the location to find out what actually happened to this person. If that's even true, you have to do a lot of legwork as far as that would go. But I would wonder if it wasn't poltergeist activity.
So that makes sense to me, because that makes more sense to me than this entity following him, for lack of a better term.
A ghost can follow you. I've been followed. I got followed home by a spirit once from an investigation, I believe, and nothing bad happened, but it would walk around my floor, and people heard the footsteps upstairs when I wasn't home. Blah blah blah, whatever. And instead of bothering my cat, and I was just like, dude, I don't know if it was a dude or not, but I just said, dude, if you bother my cat, you have to leave, because I live in a house that's haunted now, and as long as it not bother me, whatever. And I just said, if you can't leave my cat alone, you have to go. And everything stopped, and nothing happened since. So I'm guessing he left and didn't want to bother the cat or whatever. But so a spirit can follow you, but as far as trying to kill you, unless I'm wrong, and if there's a paranormal investigator out there that could correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see a spirit trying to kill somebody. To me, that's more of a demonic.
Yeah, that's what.
There are trickster spirits that will trick you into doing things, maybe to hurt yourself or whatever, for their own enjoyment. But to want to kill you, it doesn't sound like an average spirit to me. Like, even she killed her kids. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm missing something, but I just don't know that a spirit would want to start killing other people.
I had never heard of it. That's why, and like I said, I as far as a spirit showing up, hanging in his closet, or we're hanging wherever, okay, I can see that. You know what I mean?
She hung herself there, but she hung herself. I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And in spirits, but like I said, once she was crawling across the floor and then showing up in the street, like you said, and and all these other things, that's where I was like, oh, I could ask Roy about this, because I don't know. I had never heard of that.
Well, and the whole thing about she caused his accident, and I'm like, no, you caused the accident. You wasn't fucking paying attention to where you were going.
Yes.
You know, like, dude, watch where you're going. You know, she didn't cause it. You caused it. You weren't watching. It's like, oh man. You know, so as far as how that goes, you know, like I said, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I would question whether it was poltergeist activity.
Yeah, that is, if we're gonna go the paranormal route for it, and it's not like a straight psychological issue, you know, in that, and I'm not going to even pretend I'm a doctor. You know, I'm not a doctor. I you know, the only thing I could think of offhand is some sort of schizophrenia, because hallucinations are, you know, they're not always with schizophrenia, but that is a symptom or an effect of schizophrenia. Some people do have, you know, full on, not just auditory but visual hallucinations as well. So, but a poltergeist makes sense to me for sure. A poltergeist going that route, because like you said, it's created through negative energy and stuff, and really strong energy, and that would make sense. It's becoming an abusive sort of old school household like that. So it's yeah, I could see that one.
Yeah, that's just where I lean towards.
Yeah, it's yeah, this whole like I don't know. I was let down by the show a little bit here, because like I said, there was cool aspects to it. The whole sitting around the room, like you said, sort of intervention style. That was pretty. That was okay, you know. And
this is how the show for me was him telling the family the story.
Yeah, you know, and seeing their reactions.
Yeah, right. What?
Yeah, that one guy, he's just staring there. I give that guy credit, because this guy's telling some wild ass stories, and the one guy's just nodding his head, older gentleman.
Like, okay.
All right. I'm following you. You know, so
was,
yeah.
So what would you give the show 1 to 10 for the story itself?
All right. So
but be real fake. That's not even the issue. Like this, just a story. What do you think about the story?
There's nothing wrong with the story per se. I just wish they would have and it's tough, because you said it's a short show. It's you know, whatever, 28 minutes.
I appreciated that.
Yes. I do too, because then it's just easier to digest and everything like that. But in that same sense, I wish they kind of would have, you know, went down some other paths. You know what I mean? Just kind of look for, you know, multiple explanations. But as far as the story goes, I mean, I'd give the story 6.5. What about you?
I'd give it a 7.5.
Okay.
And the reasoning being, I was watching the show.
Yeah.
And so much happened in the episode. Like, it was like, wow, a lot of stuff's going on. The show must be almost over. And I checked and see how far along it was. It was only like 15 minutes in. I'm like, holy crap! Still like 10 minutes or so to go. I'm like, wow! Like it was moving. It was like, geesh, it's crazy. And I liked the story. I thought it was a very good story. Mm-hmm. Whether I believe it or not, that's another whole subject. But as far as just the story itself, I thought it was a cool story. So I want to give it a good props for that.
Yeah. What up? So if you gave that a 7.5, right?
Yep.
I gave it a 6.5. So, as far as believability in this, that it, you know, that it is something paranormal, what would you give it? And it's not some sort of psychological issue or something like that. So it could be the poltergeist or whatever, but as far as it just being something paranormal, and
I would have to go middle of the road, because you don't know unless you investigate.
Yeah.
And while you have to go
off of what you saw. the show.
See, I don't approach a case like that, so I couldn't even give you an answer by that question because I wouldn't form if I had to form an opinion, I wouldn't on a real case. But if I had to, I mean, I think you have to take him at his word. So if I had to, if you put a gun to my head and tell me you have to give an opinion, I'd say 8.
Okay.
If you had to.
So that's all I wanted. Because I understand, obviously, you would want to investigate it and do it yourself. I'm just saying off of what you saw, okay? Because here's what I felt. Like I kind of alluded to it earlier, is right away when I saw this guy and he just the first like minute or two of him talking, I was like, fuck this guy.
Me too.
This guy is wasting wasting everybody's time.
He's full of shit.
Yes. You know, we and I likened it to, we did a haunted walk a couple years ago, this haunted history tour we worked on, and there were some people that were there that were just, and they just got caught up in the fun of it, I think. But it was just like, you guys are full of shit right now. You know, we went to this one place and it was like all of a sudden like 30 different people were experiencing stuff in this one place. So but like I said, as he started telling the story, I was like, all right, okay, again, understand, I would love to talk to the guy, just us talk to the guy, interview him. But if I'm just looking at this as is, I give the believability, I'd go 7.5 there. So it went up a little bit for me there, because as he's telling it, like I said, the emotion that he had telling the story, it didn't seem fake to me. It didn't seem forced. It seemed, although he did get a little too cry-y sometimes. Like
it shouldn't seem forced. He's an actor.
What's that?
It shouldn't seem forced. He's an actor.
He is an actor?
Yeah, I don't think they're real people.
Oh, I thought that was the real guy.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should look it up. But yeah. I assume they were actors.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up because I thought it was.
I could be wrong, but I think they were actors.
Yeah, I'll look it up real quick because
maybe the first time I was wrong.
So what else about it? And yeah. Netflix. Okay, here we go. Each episode of Haunted uses footage of real people telling their loved ones an in real life ghost story.
Oh, so it is real people. And that's cool if it's every episode's like that.
Yeah.
So that worried me. I was like, this could be one of those things where like the first episode's cool, him telling the story. The next episode, he's telling the camera. Because I don't like the way when they're talking to the camera. I like when they're like, that was cool. Him telling his family, like, dude,
yeah,
I don't know what's going on. Because their responses too. His daughter at one point was like, what? Like,
yeah.
So that's cool. That kills my theory about, he shouldn't be an actor. He ain't an actor.
It's funny because that never even really crossed my mind that there would be actors. Like maybe it did right away, but like, yeah, if they were actors, that would have changed my whole thing on the whole series. I don't even know if I would do another one.
Not that I don't believe them, but knowing what I know about those type of shows, it wouldn't put it past them to put actors on there and not saying anything.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying that they did it at all. I'm not saying that at all.
No, but it could.
But,
there is that.
I'm gonna take it at face value that they didn't. Which is good to know because I might watch another one of those episodes.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out some other ones. It was just I don't know what I expected, and I just didn't expect what I saw. And
it wasn't too much.
Yeah, that's not always a bad thing. And there was some good parts, but it just
because we been in contact about doing some shows, and some of them were out there. We got contacted by one person that wanted to do a naked paranormal team doing investigations naked. And the theory was that ghosts and spirits see our clothes and it might scare them away. So if we were naked, would that make them freer to want to come out? I'm like, you still have all the equipment, so if you're naked, you still have these things in their faces, and like, yeah, it's like that's asinine.
Oh my god,
that is the came out.
That is hysterical.
There's a show called The Wraith Chasers on one of the channels. We got contacted about that show.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Naked. That's silly, dude. That is. Yeah. I mean, really, the only reason I could see doing a naked show is because you're going to get people curious because you're naked. That's it. Like I'd tune in to the first episode too, just to be like, are they really doing this naked?
It's a great show ever. Naked and Afraid. Great show.
Well, that's where my brain went right away when you said that. It was just like, oh, maybe they're trying to bite off the whole Naked and Afraid hype.
Do you have anything else to add to the show?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for listening to our show today. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you follow us. Comment on our show. Let us know what you think of the episode. Do you want us to do episode 2? Do you want us to discuss another show? Do you want us to discuss other stuff? Even on YouTube, feel free to comment. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about. We'll talk about whatever you kids want us to talk about. And if you want to listen to previous episodes, you can go to www.podpage.com/The Reaper Paranormal Show and find old episodes. Send us a message. Let us know how you're doing. Just say hello. So for Tom and myself, wait a minute, before that, what are we doing next week, Tom?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I was zoned out. So next week we are discussing The Haunting of Julia, and it's one of the more famous, or no, The Exorcism of Julia. Sorry, God, my brain all of a sudden, it was just like I went somewhere else. Yeah, The Exorcism of Julia. That's not her real name, but that's what this case is called. It's this is one of the more famous exorcism cases for a lot of reasons. Like there's just people involved, like a Yale psychiatrist, a guy that graduated from Yale that 100% believes that this exorcism is true, and stuff. It's a really interesting case. We haven't done an exorcism yet, so this is going to be really fun next episode. This is going to be a really, really, make sure you check it out.
Another different show, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for listening today. Tune in for our next episode, The Haunting of Julia. I did the same thing you did. The Exorcism of Julia. And for Tom and myself, guys, have a great day.